Did you hear me anyway? No? Shall I start again? Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Please may I have your nominations for the office of the Mayor of Oldham Metropolitan Borough for the municipal year 2021-2022. I call upon Councillor Steve Bashforth, Councillor Chris Gloucester and Councillor Pam Byrne to speak for Councillor Jenny Harrison. Councillor Steve Bashforth, please.
Madam Mayor, am I allowed to take the mask off while I speak? Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, honoured and distinguished guests, members and officers of the Council, ladies and gentlemen. Just before I begin in my little speech to move Jenny as Mayor, I just want to congratulate the retiring Mayor, Councillor Ginny Alexandra, and thank you for the exemplary manner in which she's conducted herself through these extraordinary times, both personally and in the business, in the chamber, where you've shown that you can deal with all sorts of things that are thrown at you. We're very well done. You've conducted yourself in a dignified and respectful manner throughout. And I'd just like to say, Ginny, if you can keep your head when all about to losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, not dealing lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, then you will be an honourable person. And Ginny, you have been the honourable person throughout your morality. Thank you and very well done.
Thank you very much.
You've done us proud, lass.
Thank you.
It's now my pleasure and great honour to move that Councillor Jenny Harrison be elected Mayor of Oldham Metropolitan Borough for the municipal year 2021 to 2022. And in doing this, it's used customary to give a little bit of a background on the Mayor. So I've got a little bit of a bio for Jenny, which is really interesting and just shows our life experience has prepared her for this point in time. Jenny was born in 1947, and she was born Jennifer May Smith to her mum and dad, May and Tom, at Crumpsall Hospital in Manchester. The post-war housing shortage in them days meant that they all had to live together, as many people still do in these days. She lived with her uncle and her grandma in a New Moston council house. Later on, in 1953, Jenny's parents moved to a two-bedroom flat on Langley Estate, just outside Middleton. And there they lived until 1959. In that time, Jenny went to primary school, did very well. She passed her 11 plus and had some very happy childhood memories of those times living with her parents and her sister. Later on in the late 50s, Jenny's mum and dad managed to buy a small terraced house in New Moston. And later that year, Jenny then went to North Manchester Grammar School, where she got A and O levels, did very well at school again. And then it was then when she was 16, she had her first Saturday job at C&A's in Manchester. Do you remember C&A's? I think we used to have one, didn't we? A long time ago. And she got seven shillings and sixpence for a full day's work. In 1966, well remembered for the year that England last won the World Cup, Jenny became engaged to her Chatterton boyfriend, Raymond. And later in that year, Jenny began her long and illustrious teaching career at Doncaster College, where she trained. And then during her college holidays, Jenny came to work in Royton at the old Stotts place at the bottom of High Barn Road, where she worked in the canteen and as a tea lady, which she said she found extremely enjoyable and great fun. Jenny finally qualified as a teacher in the summer of 1969. That was the year of the first moon landing in Woodstock, a very inspirational time really for Britain in the 60s. And in the same year, she finally married Ray, and they moved into a flat in Bristol, because Ray was actually a very committed Methodist preacher, and he went on to study so he could go and work in the churches, which he eventually did in the early 70s. Ray got a posting to Toxteth in Liverpool, where he served the people of Toxteth tirelessly as a Methodist minister in a very, very challenging area. It was at that time that Jenny had Daniel and just shortly later Rebecca. And again, they had a very loving family, working hard for the people of Toxteth. That was very sadly, Ray died only a year after Rebecca's birthday, and the whole family was devastated and heartbroken by this. Her children helped Jenny to carry on and gave their will to keep going, and with the love of and support of family and friends, she did carry on. Sometime later, Ray's brother, Philip, arranged a holiday for Jenny and the children at Lyme Regis. And during that time, Jenny and Phil became very close and started courting. And they were finally married at Oldham Parish Church in 1976 and bought a house on Chamber Road in Coppice. It was at this time they became very active in the local Labour Party, the Worneth and Hertford branch. And Jenny also got a job in several Oldham primary schools at the time. During this period of her life, Jenny's son Michael was born in 1978, and they moved to Moorside, and the family becoming complete later with the birth of Andrew. 40 years later, Jenny still lives in that house in Moorside, and all of her 4 children are very happily married, and she's now got 6 very, very loved grandchildren who she's very proud of. And all those are here today. I can see them there, and they've come up from Hampshire, Somerset, Lancaster, and even Royston. And very welcome to you all, and you must be very proud of your mum today. In the early 80s, Jenny worked for the National Children's Home, and it's now called, which is now Action for Children. And she did this alongside Phil, running a residential home in Chorlton-cum-Hardy and helping young people to prepare to live in independent lives. And then Jenny also worked at Langley Family Centre, supporting parents in developing and strengthening the parenting skills. Later that year, later in the late 1980s, Jenny returned to teaching in Oldham and spent 20 years at Roundthorne Primary School, from going in as an initial 3-month temporary contract to becoming part of the senior membership of that school. In 2006, Jenny decided that she would like to retire, but never quite got the hang of it, and decided to try some supply teaching. And she started working at Belfield Primary in Rochdale, but she ended up staying there for 7 years until she's retired for the second time in 2013. Now, throughout the marriage, Jenny and Phil were very active members of the Labour Party and holding a variety of different offices within the organisation. And then in the late 90s, Phil was elected to the Oldham Council as a member for Royton South. And Jenny gained valuable experience supporting him there, as well as making many lasting friendships. And it was in the late 1990s when Jenny and Phil entered my life. Initially, because Marie worked at the local, the Community Health Council as it was then, and Phil was a council-appointed member to that. And it was through Marie's friendship with Phil that I got talking to Phil, and we eventually, he rekindled his energy and enthusiasm, rekindled my interest in local politics and the local community. And I became the secretary of the Royton South Labour Party, and eventually ended up being elected in 2003. Jenny and Phil, Marie and myself, we became really great friends, campaigning together, and we were often seen out in the local Royton pubs, going up Manchester, going round the town centre pubs, engaging in some extremely colourful and really interesting characters at that time. We had a fabulous time, so many, many happy memories of that time. And we always seemed to be out producing another wide leaflet. Jenny meticulously proofreading. Nothing got past her. Not a single comma, not a full stop. Everything was in its place. And we put some cracking stuff out at the time then. Jenny decided she wanted to have a go at council herself, and in 2011 she decided she managed to get selected for Alexandra. And I actually remember late one Sunday afternoon in the Duke of York at Eastside taking photos for her first leaflet. And I've still got those if Jenny or anybody wants a copy of them. We always thought that one day Phil might be mayor and Jenny would support him in that, but that wasn't to be, because as we know, tragedy struck again in Jenny's family when Phil passed away in 2012. An extremely sad time for all of us, for the family. It was devastating. It affected myself and Marie really massively. But Jenny carried on. Jenny was elected into Alexander. Probably no thanks to my photographs. But she's still there now after 2 further elections, and she considers it a great honour to represent those people of her ward. Jenny's had many jobs within the council, many senior jobs, from being a deputy cabinet member to on Mayoral care, children's board, safeguarding. She's also a trustee of the hardship fund that was set up in the wake of the tragic gas explosion in Shaw, and she served on many other committees, which is a testament to the Labour group's confidence in Jenny's abilities and personal attributes, that she's managed, that she's got these jobs and has done well in all of them. Jenny's also not quite given up education. She's still a very active Vice Chair of Governors at Alexandra Park Junior School. Now, as Mayor, Jenny intends to attend as many events and functions as possible and meet as many people as possible. And in this, she'll be very ably assisted by her 2 consorts, her fellow ward councillors, Councillor Chuan and Councillor Mushtaq, and I'm sure they'll do a great job of it. Jenny is a genuine, caring, honest, straightforward Oldham woman who's come from humble beginnings and understands what it's like to go without material things. But Jenny has always been wealthy in the things that really matter in life: compassion, tolerance, empathy and love, as anyone who knows her will agree. Oldham has had some brilliant mayors over the years, all bringing their own personality and energy to the role. All have been excellent ambassadors to our great borough and all its towns and villages. I have no doubt that Jenny will become one of the great Oldham mayors. So I'm deeply honoured to move that this council elect Jenny, Councillor Jenny Harrison, to the office of Mayor of the Borough of Oldham, Metropolitan Borough. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bashforth. I call on Councillor Chris Gloucester to speak, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, honoured and distinguished guests, members and officers of the Council, ladies and gentlemen. It's always a privilege and an honour to be asked to second the nomination of a council member for the role of Oldham's first citizen. It isn't the duty of the Deputy Leader of the Opposition to second the proposal. Councillors can ask whoever they like. And I think that Jenny Harrison is the 3rd councillor I will second as the Mayor of Oldham in my 6 years on the council, but I can tell you that it gives me the greatest pleasure to do so. The Mayor-elect will normally provide you with a biography of their life to assist you in writing your speech, and Jenny has been no exception. Indeed, Jenny's is the most comprehensive one that I've ever been given to assist. Unfortunately, Steve Bashforth just practically read it all, so Pam certainly is going to be left with the dregs at the end. There is much to gain from reading Jenny's biography, which is by no means a self-praising one. However, looking at the things she's done with her life, starting off as a teacher at inner city schools, including Toxteth, and then moving to Oldham to teach in several primary schools here, later working alongside her husband Phil for the National Children's Home, running a residential home helping young people preparing for independent living, and later as a key worker supporting parents in developing and strengthening their parenting skills, gave her the knowledge and experience to make her a truly exceptional councillor, particularly skilled in the numerous roles that she has that she has held as a councillor, the majority of which has always had a theme of care for the most vulnerable in our society, something Jenny must have witnessed in bucketfuls during her career. Jenny's biography is a truly fascinating one and depicts her life from start until today, really, with many examples of high points in her life. But sadly, Jenny has been no stranger to tragedy, particularly in relation to the untimely deaths of her two husbands, Ray and then Phil. Both Ray and Phil feature significantly in her bio, and it is clear that they were both great influences upon her, which have helped make her the woman that she is today, and quite rightly an ideal candidate for our first citizen. My friend and colleague, Councillor Steve Bashforth, has spoken eloquently about Jenny, so I don't intend to rehash what has already been said. However, I would be failing in my duty if I did not share my thoughts about this wonderful lady and also touch on my experiences with her, both from before she was a councillor and now. I first met Jenny 20 years ago when, after the Oldham riots, the Greater Manchester Police decided to trial neighbourhood policing and chose Royton and Shaw as its pilot location. I was asked to be the Royton and Shaw Township Inspector, and soon after arriving at Royton Police Station, I was told that there were some councillors at the front desk, and sure enough, there was Councillor Phil Harrison and the very newly elected Councillor Steve Bashforth to see me, or, as they became more popularly known, Laurel and Hardy. As if you ever met them, you'd notice that they had the same builds, but I'm pleased to say that they were more competent. I took them into my office and Phil was astounded. He'd never got beyond the front desk before, and what started then was, for me, a wonderful relationship with all the councillors from Shaw and Royton, and that continued until I left in 2005 to go to other places within GMP. I'm pleased to say that Philip was particularly devastated. However, we never lost touch, and I remember him giving me a guided tour of the Civic Centre one day and bringing me into the council chamber, telling me that I may sit here one day. I'm so sorry he didn't get to see his words come true. Now, you may wonder what the last bit has to do with Jenny, so I shall explain. As my working relationship with Philip in particular developed, Phil and Steve particularly liked to drag me all around Royton, usually in the evening, to meet with residents or to an area committee or some other meeting. Invariably, this will conclude in a pub somewhere, and as a consequence, Jenny used to come and meet us, and then subsequently she used to drive us home. In fairness to Howard, we used to do that in Shaw as well, but I lived in Shaw, so he didn't have to give me a lift. It's fair to say, in those 5 years, Jenny very rarely met me sober, but she certainly didn't need directions to find my house in, as Philip used to describe it, the Rover 75. On occasions, if I needed to speak to Phil, I could ring him any time of day and night, and in fairness, he reciprocated. As I've always said, policing is a vocation, not an occupation, and both he and I had similar values in relation to that of being an elected member. So it didn't matter if we went on holiday or he was, we were always happy to speak. Phil and Jenny used to spend a lot of time, as I remember, on the Isle of Wight, and on occasions he would ring me and vice versa. And he would particularly take great pleasure, especially on a sunny day, of informing me that he and Jenny were currently stark naked on the nudist beach. I still have that picture in my mind, but I'm hoping to overwrite it with Jenny in her civic regalia today. So, with that thought in mind, I am honoured to second the motion that Councillor Jenny Harrison is elected as the Mayor of Oldham, and ask that you support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gloucester. Could I ask Councillor Pamburn to speak, please?
Madam Mayor, honourable distinguished guests, members and officers of the Council, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honour to speak from the Conservative bench to support the election of Councillor Jenny Harrison as Mayor of Oldham. There's a contact between all of us speakers that we all worked or had association with Phil on the Community Health Council. And I was on that until its demise and worked through a number of chairmen. But I remember Phil very well because he didn't do long meetings. And he was very to the point. And so we're all one great family, aren't we? Well, Jenny, you follow in an illustrious line to hold the first citizen of Oldham title. Dame Sarah Lees of Werneth Park, the first female councillor in Lancashire and the first female mayor of Oldham. In what year? I can't find. Anyway, she was a great sister of not just Oldham but everywhere. And since then, there have been some formidable lady mayors, and who can forget Ellen Briley in the 70s. I think it was Chris who referred to me as getting the gubbins, and everyone knows of Jenny's history now. But Jenny, you will be the 10th Lady Mayor of Oldham, and I hope this year of office will be successful and enjoyable, and I look forward to supporting you in it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Byrne. All those in favour, please show. Will the Mayor's attendant now go and search the precincts of the Civic Centre for Councillor Jenny Harrison, and when you have found her, bring her hither, please. Councillor Jenny Harrison, I am delighted to inform you that by the consent of the Council, you have been duly elected as Mayor of Oldham Metropolitan Borough for the forthcoming municipal year. Councillor Harrison, I invite you to make and sign your declaration of acceptance of office for Mayor 2021-2022 in the presence of the Chief Executive.
I, Councillor Jennifer May Harrison, having been elected to the office of Mayor of the Oldham Metropolitan Borough, hereby declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my ability. I undertake to observe the adopted Code of Conduct in the performance of my functions in that office. Thank you. Sorry, I should have been holding the Bible.
Members and officers of the Council, honoured and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I've got big privilege and honour to present you the new Worshipful Mayor of Oldham Metropolitan Borough. Now I need to be very careful here. Councillor Jenny Harrison.
It all looks so easy in the rehearsal before the emotions kick in. But this is my declaration. Obviously, everything's been done today very much with the COVID restrictions in mind, so that we're not all touching things. Just one person touches a thing at a time. So this is an opportunity to take a photograph if anybody wants to. May I ask the Mayor's attendant to invest my consorts, Councillor Shahid Mushtaq and Councillor Zahid Chauhan, and with their consorts' chain of office. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank you in front of me, my fellow councillors, for granting me the great honour of becoming the mayor of our wonderful borough. Thank you also for the very kind words in the nomination speeches. I have been watching in the mayor's dining room, and it's very hard to have a dry eye today. But I will do my utmost in this coming year to be worthy of this privilege. If you've read my biography, and it has been touched on in the speeches earlier, you'll know that in common with most people, I've experienced times of great happiness and great sadness in my life. But the common factor throughout has always been the love, encouragement and support of wonderful family, friends and colleagues. I've known the love of two great husbands and the deep sorrow of losing them. But through them, I have 4 wonderful, loving children who've married loving partners, and I've known the joy of becoming Grandma Jenny to 6 fantastic grandchildren. Or I should say, I'm Grandma Jelly to one of them still, little Beatrice over there. I'm very grateful to my late parents, May and Tom, for their love and support for my sister Pat and me, for giving us a happy, secure start in life and filling us with aspiration. I'm thankful to my late parents-in-law, Sam and Teresa, for their love and support also. I'm grateful to all of them for their tremendous help when my children were small, enabling me to follow my career. Because of COVID, this is a mayor-making ceremony like no other, and I want to give sincere thanks to the officers who've put so much effort into making it possible. Many hours of work have been put into measuring up, experimenting, planning, so that this ceremony could happen safely here in the QE Hall, and for making it possible for my family to join me. It just means so much, so a massive thank you to everybody involved. It's the first time since December 2019 that we as a family have all been together in the same room, even if socially distanced at the moment. I thank my family for being here today. My eldest son and his family travelling from Hampshire, my daughter and her family from Lancaster, my youngest son and his family from Somerset, and my middle son and his family from the distant plains of Thorpe Farm in Royton. I couldn't have become mayor if I hadn't first become a councillor. And I want to thank and acknowledge the people of Alexandra Ward who have entrusted me with their votes through 3 council elections. I have tried my best, I've worked hard to be worthy of their trust. Through being an Alexandra councillor, I've also made 2 of my very best friends, my ward colleagues, Shahid and Zahid, who've agreed to be my consorts for the mayoral year. I say agreed, but thinking back, I think they actually suggested it. But it was a good move, because there are often events that we go to with steps and stairs and no banisters, and it's great to have a couple of strapping young men to hold on to. But joking aside, thank you so much for your continued and continuing friendship and support, and not just in the absence of banisters. When I was coming towards the end of my long teaching career, as you already know, I qualified in 1969, the year of the first lunar landing, and after many years of political activism in the Labour Party, I put my name forward to be considered for the panel of candidates in local elections. My original plan was to serve a ward for 4 years, 1 term of office, as a backbencher. However, it didn't quite work out like that, and 10 years later, after fulfilling a large number of roles, I'm here today being made Mayor of the Oldham Borough that I'm so proud of. Those who've read my biography will know that I was born and spent my early life and teens in Manchester. Yet even Langley Estate, though it's near Middleton and associated with Rochdale, then at least it was a Manchester overspill, a post-war overspill estate, and we paid the rent to Manchester City Council. So I always say, I was born in Manchester, came to Oldham by marriage, but I remain in Oldham by choice. Following in the footsteps of some of my predecessors, I've chosen a theme for my mayoral year, and that is diversity and inclusion. After an unprecedented year for all of us, for some a time of great sadness and loss, and our hearts go out to those people. For others, a time of fear, isolation, trying to stay safe. However, it's also been a time of seeing the best of Oldham, with so many individuals, groups, charities, partnerships rising to the massive challenges of the pandemic and to develop themselves and support those in need of help. Already existing groups have transformed their services to meet the surge of new challenges and to help and seek out those who are vulnerable and in need. Teams of officers, partners and volunteers have constantly knocked on doors in our neighbourhoods, supporting and encouraging our residents to understand and follow the COVID guidance and to have the vaccination when offered. And just think, all those parents who suddenly had to also become teachers, and a lot of them working from home at the same time. What do they know about fronted adverbials and the chunking method of division and the grid method of multiplication? But wow, what an education they got too. So well done to all those and all the frontline workers and the schools that have just worked so hard to keep education accessible to our children. We've seen the great teamwork of NHS, council, partners and volunteers delivering the vaccination programme so successfully. All of this has made a massive difference. And in this week, when we can say we've got the lowest infection rate in Greater Manchester, below the national figure, it's all credit to the people who've worked so hard and the citizens of this borough who've gone with us on this. And these activities have cut across cultures, ethnicity, religion, gender, age, sexuality, ability, disability, and all that can sometimes divide us. And I want us this coming year to be one when we can celebrate the richness of our diversity across the borough. To quote the late Joe Cox MP, we are far more united and have far more in common than that which divides us. And I've chosen my charities on the theme of inclusion and diversity. But before I name them, I want to say a very big thank you to the Mayor's Charity Appeal Committee, many of whom have worked tirelessly over many years to raise funds for worthy causes. And I really look forward to working with them and to the new volunteers who are coming along. Opportunities for fundraising events have been extremely limited during the pandemic, and we don't know exactly how things will pan out this year. However, anything that we can do, I'd be glad of everybody's support for the events that can be helped. And hopefully, as we continue to open up in coming months, we will be able to do more and more. So you've got a list of my charities in your booklet with quite a lot of information on them, but I'd just like to name them today. So I've chosen UKEF, which was founded in 2009 to rebuild communities tackling food poverty and homelessness. Their aim is to restore social harmony and balance back into the community. Maggie's Oldham, providing free psychological, practical and emotional support for people with cancer and their loved ones. Cancer doesn't discriminate. Maggie's doesn't discriminate. Inspire Women Oldham, a diverse community of women supporting and nurturing each other to reconnect and reimagine their lives. And I just want here to mention our late dear friend Councillor Sue Dearden, who was the champion for this organisation, and I took on that role. So they were always going to be one of my charities. Age UK Out and About Group, a friendship group for older lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender communities here in Oldham. Andy's Man Club, founded after the death by suicide of a young Halifax man, Andy Roberts. And Oldham has a strong branch here, providing a supportive place for men to talk. Hashtag it's okay to talk. Oldham Street Angels, celebrating its 10th anniversary this year, started as a street team supporting nighttime economy. But during the pandemic, they've been a refuge, place of comfort, safety, provision of food and so much more for the vulnerable people on the street, for the homeless and various other things. Point Send, who are supporting children and young people with additional needs and disabilities, and currently they're supporting 2,200 families in the borough. Terence O'Grady Social Club, providing socialising and leisure activities for people with learning disabilities in a safe environment. I think I've said everybody. I don't want to miss anybody out. No, that's everybody. So I hope you will support with these charities this year. And when I'm out and about, there might be other occasions where a small donation might make a difference to other groups as well. During my mayoral year, I want to visit as many groups and organisations as possible, and hopefully visit, as I say, some that are not on that list where I can make a difference. When Ginny was made mayor and I became her deputy 2 years ago, none of us could have foreseen what lay ahead, that we would be 2 years in our roles because of a global pandemic that has had such a profound effect on all our lives. And I want to congratulate Ginny on the creative ways that she's found of reaching out to people through the lockdowns, not least through her cards, letters and bouquets delivered to those celebrating milestone birthdays and anniversaries. It's meant a really great deal to those people. When I did the nominating speech for Ginny 2 years ago, I said, life sometimes has a way of surprising us, and how true has that turned out to be in so many ways. So we don't know what lies ahead of us in this year, but I am confident that the sense of Team Oldham will continue to grow. And I promise to promote our borough wherever the year might take me, and promote the celebration of our rich diversity. Thank you. Please can I ask for a vote of thanks for the retiring mayor and retiring mayor's consort for their services during the past 2 municipal years. Councillor Shah to move, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Honoured and distinguished guests, members and officers of the Council, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to take this moment to thank Ginny Alexander for the incredible work she's done over the last 2 years as our Mayor. When she took on the responsibility 2 years ago, I'm sure she had no idea what she was letting herself in for. The role of Mayor is an important one at any time. The Mayor is a figurehead for our town. They shine a light on worthy causes and support our residents as they contribute to making Oldham a great place. But during the pandemic, the role has taken on a real resonance. As a society, we've looked at each other for support, and we've tried to find connections while spending so much time apart. The Mayor in such a period becomes particularly important, and Ginny has embraced that wholeheartedly. She's shown us boundless energy, attending events and openings and supporting so many great organisations. In tough times, the money she's raised, I know, for exceptionally fantastic causes have made such a huge difference. But just as importantly, she's shown such commitment to reaching out to residents when they were struggling or to help celebrate a big birthday or anniversary. So many people, Madam Mayor, have had big moments spoiled by this pandemic. The work Ginny has done to make those moments special speaks volumes for her, the kind of person that she is, and how fortunate Oldham is to have had her as our Mayor. Alongside her consort Adrian, she has been a leader in our town, and we should all be grateful for her strength and for her compassion. In what was a dark time for all of us, her focus on bringing light and happiness will be the thing I will remember most clearly from her mayoral term. When we all look back on this period, I know we'll see we were very, very lucky that Oldham had Ginny Alexander and Adrian as her Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shaw. Councillor Williamson to second, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, honoured and distinguished guests, members, officers and officers of the Council, ladies and gentlemen. Not sure where to begin, really. In all honesty, I don't know very much about Ginny and Adrian, other than they were both councillors, and then she became Mayor of Oldham. And not to be outdone, Adrian became the first Rough Yards ambassador. For the past 6 months, I was aware that she was putting on events, but due to my own health issues, I was struggling to do anything other than go to work and then go home to bed. Previous to this, I had heard that Ginny was struggling with some health issues, and I asked her how she was when I saw her along the corridor. And I have to say that I really felt when she said she was sorry to hear about my health issues, that she was being really genuine. Then Ginny decided to put on a fashion show at the beginning of 2020, and I was hooked. I was there, and I was bound to buy something purple, which is the dress that I've got on today. Not sure what it was, but we just sat there and chatted for ages whilst watching the fashion show in this very room, with the youth mayor, Sama Khalili, who was to become the youngest recipient of the British Empire Medal, ably strutting her stuff down the catwalk. That was probably the last time I'd seen her in person until today, because the pandemic hit and nobody knew what was going to come along. Having said that, Ginny luckily had her mayoral year extended for another year. Over the last 18 months of various lockdowns and restrictions, Ginny has transformed her mayoral role, becoming an even more passionate person and a personable person, a fantastic ambassador for the Borough of Oldham, and the people are just so thrilled to see her either receiving something when restrictions permitted, like her recent visit to Little Owl Farm. Not one to be deterred by a world pandemic, Ginny decided to do something very different and still reach out to the diverse community of the Borough of Oldham by awarding 33 Mayor's Appreciation Awards, including 1 to 2 children who raised £1,000 for Captains Tom NHS Appeal, Oldham Boxing Club, Inspire Women Oldham, and one to Mr and Mrs Halliwell for 60 years service to grassroots rugby league. But Ginny didn't stop there. She sent flowers and cards to people celebrating their special occasions, golden, diamond, ruby and platinum weddings, wedding anniversaries, and 800th birthday and many more. Sadly, one of her final duties was writing a letter of condolence to Her Majesty the Queen on behalf of the people of Oldham on the passing of His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh. She attended a small commemorative service at Oldham Parish Church to celebrate his life, dedication and service to the country. But I don't want to end on that. I just want to say that having looked through the hundreds of pictures on the Mayor of Oldham's Facebook page, you can clearly see that Ginny has been an absolute asset for Oldham. She has been surrounded by people from organisations she supports, and they can see and feel her genuine warmth and sincerity, and I know they are going to miss her. On that note, I wish Ginny and Adrian all the very best, and I can't wait to meet up for that long overdue brew or even a pint of the Mayor's tipple. Thank you for being a committed servant to the Borough of Oldham and to the role of the Mayor. Thank you, Ginny.
Thank you, Councillor Williamson. I call on Councillor Byrne to support.
Madam Mayor, honoured and distinguished guests, members and officers of the Council, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honour to speak to support the vote of thanks, which echoes mine. I first met Adrian when we stood together in Saddleworth West, I think, and there was a vague association between my late husband and Adrian through rugby. Your service has been unique, both of you, in having 2 years and having to reinvent almost the role of the Mayor. You've not had the civic dignitary visits and that you would normally have. But your work's been so different, and as a member I could have expected to support your charities, enjoyment of the Mayor's Ball and the afternoon teas and other different fundraising events, which I missed. There's no doubt about that. But you've become a local people's mayor. People may not know outside Oldham, but people certainly know in Oldham who their mayor and consort have been. You've recognised so many residents and communities with your Mayor's Appreciation Awards, individual people, groups, and you've also still been able to make some donations to some groups like the Mountain Rescue and other groups, which it's been incredible really that you've managed to do that. The flowers to residents for birthdays and anniversaries have come weekly, and following you on the Facebook page, we can see how appreciative those people are. And I'm sure that all who had contact with you on Facebook and Zoom appreciated that close contact and with the people of Oldham. Thank you, Ginny, for this important work, and Adrian, Councillor Alexander formerly, and the local contacts you have made. Everyone is proud of you.
Thank you, Councillor Byrne. Retiring Mayor and retiring Mayor's consort, please accept your medallions on behalf of the Council for your services during the past 2 municipal years and your signed declaration of acceptance of the office of Mayor 2019 to 2021. It's okay, they're a household bubble. I'm sure you'll wear those with pride, both of you. And now a call on the retiring Mayor to speak to us. Thank you. Councillor Alexander.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Honoured and distinguished guests, members and officers of the Council, ladies and gentlemen. My husband Adrian and I want to thank all of you for your support and your generosity. It has been an honour and a privilege being your mayor. I will cherish this journey forever. We wanted to take you on our journey right from day one, so we put our heads together with Karen Jakeman and Joe Wheeler, who then set up the Mayor of Oldham Facebook page. It was to keep you informed of where we had visited and what we had done on that day. This was to highlight and promote everything we have in Oldham. The Facebook page has gone from strength to strength. It has been viewed over 1.5 million times and in over 50 countries worldwide. Thank you, Karen and Joe, for your support and time that you have given to us to let people know the role of Mayor and Consort with attention to detail and the brilliant photos. Your input has been invaluable. We want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for everything you have done for us. We would like to thank everyone for the lovely comments made on the posts and for following us on our journey. In our first year, we visited so many amazing places. We met so many wonderful people, and I didn't realise we had so many wonderful organisations, so many fantastic charities, businesses, and so many gifted children and people. Oldham is truly amazing, simply the best. Never did we imagine that COVID-19 pandemic would come and stop us all in our tracks in such a cruel and rapid way. Events postponed, holidays cancelled, not being able to see loved ones, and restrictions put in place. It truly has been an awful time for us all. Our heartfelt sympathy goes out to those who have lost loved ones during the pandemic. We were asked to continue for another year, as we should have finished in May 2020. It made sense, as the new mayor would not be able to do her civic duties. So we continued and had to think of what we could do to cheer people up. So we started sending out bouquets and flowers and cards to people celebrating special birthdays or anniversaries. We put their stories on the Mayor's Facebook page so that everyone could join in the celebration on their special day. We would like to thank the Parks team and Dale Robinson at Bloomingdale's for over 50 beautiful bouquets that were made to send to people who were celebrating. We also started to give out the money raised through the Mayor's Appeal Fund, and we wanted you to know where all the donations had been made. This money was desperately needed now that everything was closed. Charities could not go out and do the usual fundraising that they normally would all year round. Food banks needed to buy food for those in need, and it was good to see people coming together to help each other. The organisations, businesses and charities were outstanding. I was proud to be able to donate to over 34 charities each so deserving of our support. We also decided to give out Mayor's Appreciation Awards. This is given to people and groups that had gone above and beyond to help the good people of Oldham. I gave out 27 Mayor Awards and 2 Civic Appreciation Awards. I am so proud of each and every one of you. It has been a pleasure working with the Youth Mayor Sama Khalil, and we wish her all the very best for the future. We would also like to thank Nicola and Kimberly from the Mayor's office for all their hard work. They have looked after us every step of the way. They did an excellent job in organising the Mayor's Ball, which was a huge success. And of course, we mustn't forget our attendants, Conrad, Tony, Paolo and Colin, for making sure we were safe and sound at every event. Also, a very big thank you to the Mayoral Appeal Committee for their help with fundraising at various events and their support. Thank you to all the Deputy Lieutenants of Greater Manchester who stood by me at the citizenship ceremonies, especially Darren Clark for his kindness and support. Thank you to Sir Norman Stoller, the Duchy of Lancaster and former High Sheriff of Greater Manchester, Mark Addleston, for supporting me and donating to my mayoral fund. We are very proud and honoured to have served you, the people of Oldham. We sincerely hope that you also have enjoyed the journey with us. It has been truly amazing. There are too many people to mention, so I will just say a very big thank you to all the volunteers, those who have supported us and donated to the Mayor's Appeal Fund over these past 2 years. May God bless you all and keep you safe. Hope we will meet again sometime in the future. All our love and best wishes to each and every one of you. Now, in the beautiful words of Andre Bocelli and Sarah Brightman, it's time to say goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Alexander. Can I please ask for nominations to appoint to the office of Deputy Mayor for the municipal year 2021-22? Councillor Shah to move.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to move Councillor Lane Gary.
Thank you. Councillor Sheldon to, Councillor Sykes to second.
Second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Sheldon.
I'll support that, Madam Mayor.
He's done his first duty, reminded me to switch my microphone back on. Congratulations, Councillor Gary, and I know you're going to make a wonderful deputy. Councillor Elaine Gary, I invite you to make and sign your declaration of acceptance of office for Deputy Mayor 2021-22 in the presence of the Chief Executive.
I, Elaine Gary, having been elected to the office of Deputy Mayor of the Metropolitan Borough of Oldham, I hereby declare that I take upon that office myself. I will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe the adopted code of conduct in the performance of my functions in that office. Thank you.
Thank you. May I ask the Mayor's attendant to invest the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Elaine Gary, with the Deputy Mayor's chain of office. Congratulations. Members and officers of the Council, Councillor Peter Davis and Councillor Graham Shuttleworth will be the Deputy Mayor's consorts for 21-22. Please may I ask the Mayor's attendant to invest the Deputy Mayor's consorts with the chain of office. Thank you. I'm pleased to announce the appointment of my chaplain for this year, the Reverend Canon Jean Hurlston. With the current restrictions in place, my civic service will be postponed until later in the year. In the meantime, I would like to invite the Chief Executive, group leaders to join me for Sunday morning service at Oldham Parish Church for prayers and the blessing of my mayoral year. Members and officers of the Council, ladies and gentlemen, we will now have a short interval break before the resumption of annual council at 1:30.
All right.
Members who wish to remove their jackets may do so. Right. Item 1, apologies for absence. Have we any apologies for absence? I've received apologies from Councillors Curley, Leach, Woodvine and Hazel Gloucester. Is that it? Thank you. The minutes, is Council agreed that the minutes of Council meeting held on the 24th of March 2021 be approved and signed as a correct record? Agreed. Thank you. Declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest from the members in respect of matters to be determined by the Council at this meeting? All members have a pecuniary interest in item 18. So can Council please note that all 60 Council members have received a dispensation from the Standards Committee meeting held on the 20th of February 2013 in relation to item 18. Are there any other declarations of interest? Urgent business. I've not been notified of any urgent business. Communications relating to business of the Council. Members may be aware that sadly former councillors and Dolores Phelan and David Shaw have passed away. I've been notified members wish to speak. Councillor Sykes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and congratulations. And I'm sorry the first time I'm speaking while you're in charge, properly in charge, but you've been in charge before, is about a sad thing. So I rise to speak about former councillor Dolores Phelan. Dolores is known for by several, hopefully, long-serving members of the council. And recently, most recently, was a councillor in Royton South, and previous to that, from memory, she was a Labour councillor in Failsworth West, if I remember rightly, and she served in Royton South until 2004. Anybody who knew Dolores would have been immediately struck by how genuinely passionate she was in speaking up for the underdog. She really cared about the poor and the disadvantaged residents of this borough, and was ready to speak up for them and fight their corner. Dolores always was a committed feminist and advocated strongly for women's rights and on issues impacting upon women. These convictions had forged as a result of her long involvement of Dolores with her husband Noel, who was a character in himself, I can tell you, with the trade union movement, and for many, many years both served as officers on Oldham Trade Union Council, an organisation which incidentally predates the formation of the Trade Union Congress by 1 year, and also as activists of the then Transport and General Workers Union. One personal connection that Dolores has led to an interesting annual lecture at Oldham Trade Union Council. Dolores had either been to school or university, and I can't recall which, with Dawn Preliminary MP and the then Labour government's Chief Secretary to the Treasury, and Dolores persuaded her friend to come along to Oldham to speak. I've uncovered some information about Dolores' more recent political contribution to her recently adopted community in Holywell in Flintshire, North East Wales. Appropriately, Dolores lived in a part of a town called Greenfield, so there's still a link with Oldham. And from 2012 until February of this year, Dolores was a member of the town council there, serving for Holywell Central Ward. She played an important role in organising the 100th anniversary commemorations of the ending of the First World War, in that place, and she was an active member of the Transition Holywell group working in order to improve the environment and make her community more sustainable, as well as a governor of a local school. Holywell's town mayor, Councillor Linda Carter, on hearing the passing of Dolores, said in a brilliant summation, "Dolores was a shining example of a citizen of the world. And that, Madam Mayor, I can't top, and I so note her sad passing." Thank you.
Councillor Williamson, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It is with great sadness that I speak on behalf of the Liberal Democrat group about my former colleague, David Shaw. David started his political activity with the Social Democratic Party in 1982, assisting with the local election campaign in his then home ward of Royton North. He also assisted with the successful campaign in Crompton ward 4 years later, enabling one of my former colleagues, John Dillon, to be elected to the council. He helped in Crompton ward and other wards in the borough over the ensuing years, helping in the work to elect other councillors. David was employed by the council in the committee services section, which involved writing reports, preparing and arranging for the delivery of council committee papers. The committees consisted of all councillors who served on 2 or 3 committees. This experience came in useful for admin work of the Royton and Crompton SDP branch. David's first foray into election was when he stood for Shaw and Crompton Parish Council. He took early retirement from the council, which enabled him to stand for election to the council, and he contested and won Royton South, his home ward. In 2006, and represented the people of Royton for 4 years, which is where I met David. He became my ward colleague in 2008 when I got elected to Royton South. Unfortunately, David didn't want to stand again, which meant there was going to be a vacancy within our council group, as he was then the group minutes secretary. So on his last meeting, I took the notes of the meeting and did what he told me to do, which was send them to Howard for approval. He then saw me on Wednesday and said to me, "You don't spell thought with an E." And I said, "Well, Howard signed them off, so it must be right." He said, "When it comes to minutes, don't listen to Howard." Retirement from work meant that David could follow his great interest in history, of which he took a degree. David also attended Boundary Park to watch Latics. After leaving the council and as an elected member, David and Sheila moved to Newport, Shropshire, to be nearer to their family. David also gave the local Lib Dem help in Newport. 2 years ago, David moved to Warwick to be even nearer to his family. David is survived by his wife Sheila, son Michael and daughter Rachel, who Liberal Democrats past and present want to pass on our sincere condolences. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Steve Bashforth.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't profess to have known Dolores or David very well in a personal way or even in a friendly way. They were formidable opponents in Royton South in those early 2000s, and I give them both respect for the work that they did, for the commitment they put in to serve the people of Royton, the commitment to the Liberal Democrats. They were excellent communicators and excellent campaigners, and as I said, they were formidable opponents, and I'm really sorry to hear that they passed away, and we found out today. I will offer my condolences to that. It's really sad when you hear that somebody who made a difference and was quite a big part of your life, although as an opponent, and to hear that suddenly they're not with us. So, Madam Mayor, I am sorry to read this news, and as I said, they were both formidable, respectable and excellent opponents. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I ask that members join me in a minute's silence? Thank you. I've had notification from members who wish to speak about our retiring members. I call on Councillors Davis, Roberts and Sykes to speak about Sean Fielding. Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, it's a pleasure to be able to speak about Sean. If I could say, first of all, we've had some great times together. I've probably been closer to Sean more than anybody other than his family, I suppose, over the past few years. We've had some good times, we've had some not so good times, but along the way we've had a great laugh, and Sean's got a wicked sense of humour. He remembers the underpants incident, what happened a few months ago, which was his sense of humour that got a little bit blown out of proportion. But I first got to know Sean when he went to school with my son. They were at Paddock Lane School, which is South Failsworth School. And my son had his birthday party, I think 8 or 9 years old, something like that. And it was a themed birthday party. Like Moonchester was there, as Al Joe was a City fan. And Moonchester was there at Failsworth Sports Hall. And Sean was invited, along with a lot of other people from that year at school. And a lot of them are still around, and some of them are still out the area. And, I mean, Sean always had his close friends in those days, who he's still friends with now, who were Rebecca Creamer, Rory Cook, and Chris Otchin, who were very close friends of Sean, and they still are, and he still keeps in touch with them today. And I think they've probably helped him along the way on his journey he's been on. But that was then, and then, of course, my son and Sean, they were still at the same school, at senior school. They went to Failsworth School. They were in the brass band together, and my son shared a room with Sean when they went to France, Paris. But the next I heard of Sean after that now was about 2012, when he stood for election as the councillor in Failsworth West, his own ward where he was brought up. And my mum said to me, she said, "This Sean Fielding, do you know him? He's just come round to the house. He looks so young. His mum's been round canvassing with him." And I said, "Yeah, oh yeah, he's a great lad. He was one, really bright lad at school, really good lad." But prior to that, he'd stood as a candidate a Labour candidate in Saddleworth North against Derek Efferman, God bless him. And he finished a creditable 4th. I think he got 400 votes, but he did really well in Saddleworth North because it's not massive Labour ground, especially in them days. So then, like I say, it's 2012, he stood as a candidate in Failsworth West. So that was 9 years ago. He stood, so altogether he was councillor for 9 years, and then latterly leader of the council for the last 3 years of his when he was a councillor. But he's done great work in the community. I remember early on in his campaign, I think it was with Amanda, and it might have been a Rouge, I'm not sure, where they were fighting to bring bus fares down. They had the big posters out, and they managed to save the bus fares, bring the bus fares down in Greater Manchester, and it added to the campaign there. He was a shadow cabinet member on with health and education and skills, with Jean and with Jim obviously as well. And then of course when he became leader in 3 years ago, he was on the skills portfolio in the Greater Manchester, and even up until the last few months he saved the Ashton bus as well in our area. So the two of the big themes that Sean's been supporting are education and transport, and those are the two of the big levers to be able to get people a better standard of living, get them out of poverty, and people to be able to progress. And Sean was great at that. He did loads of work. He really thought a lot about it. And And when we talk about people who've been former councillors, you know, one minute you're quite an important person, especially as leader, and then next minute you've gone. And we talk to them as though they're not here anymore, don't we? We talk about them as though they're not here anymore, but he's 31 years old. You know, he's still got a great life ahead of him. He's got so much going for him. You know, he's going to be all right. He can go off and have a career somewhere else and even come back to politics as well. And, you know, at the right age when you normally come to it. So, you know, he's got a great future and it's been great to work alongside him. And thanks, Sean, if you're listening. I don't know if you are, but thanks and good luck.
Thank you. Councillor Roberts, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I first met Sean when he stood for Labour in 2011 for Saddleworth North, one of his opponents being a certain Ken Hume. He ran an energetic campaign, but despite his appropriate skill, appropriate for Saddleworth, in playing the cornet, this was not enough to succeed at that election. Sean had already been elected in Failsworth West when I next met him. He is deeply committed to the community he grew up in and made it clear that one of the driving forces in his political career was and remains his determination to deliver for Failsworth. That, and as has been mentioned, a long-standing belief in the importance of a decent public transport system, particularly an affordable, reliable and comprehensive bus service. As leader of Oldham Council, he was hard-working with a clear vision of the kind of Oldham he thought we should build. One with decent, sustainable jobs, good quality and affordable housing, and delivering the greenest borough for us all. The past 14 months have been the most challenging and difficult in living memory. Many of us have lost family, friends, businesses and jobs. Some of us will live with the consequences of the pandemic for years to come. Sean led the council through all this, overnight transforming the way the council works to focus on providing support for our most vulnerable neighbours, processing tens of millions of pounds worth of grants, supporting care homes and those on the front line. He volunteered at Oldham Food Bank and at vaccination centres. Sean also stood shoulder to shoulder, metaphorically given the current circumstances, with Andy Burnham in standing up for Oldham and fighting for financial support for residents as another lockdown loomed. And all this on top of the ongoing struggle to balance the council's books as government cuts to support day-to-day spending continue to bite. It is a hard job and one that he did well. A job made even more difficult by the lies and smears circulated on Facebook and other social media sites. I would like to thank Sean for his personal support, for his commitment to building the homes that people need, and for finding a way to save so much of our greenbelt land from wood houses to Thornham Old Road and Hanging Chadder by redeveloping the town centre. I wish him and Sophie good luck in the future. As Councillor Davis has said, this is not an obituary, it is a celebration of the things that Sean has done for Oldham and for Failsworth. Who knows, perhaps in the future, our loss will be a brass band's gain.
Thank you. Councillor Sykes, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, and I understand the sentiment of people, but being a former leader, you can feel it maybe a little bit more than others can, I can assure you. But first of all, I wanted to congratulate, even if it's a bit premature, Councillor Shah on becoming the new leader of the council. But it would equally be remiss of me not to comment on the former leader, Sean Fielding. I think that many members of the public believe that various political parties in this chamber are always at conflict with one another and at each other's throats. I think this is a common misconception on how real politics work. And I've been here probably longer than most people have. Yes, we have disagreements and we argue. Yes, we have differences of opinion and sometimes different values and different priorities. But there are many issues on which we agree. And there are many opinions and values which we share. So, most of the time we actually do get along, or we agree to disagree in order to get along. The leader of the council and the leader of the opposition have to be able to work together, and Sean was somebody with whom I could get along with. I found him friendly and approachable and willing to work cooperatively to find common ground on many issues. Not all issues, but many issues, and to try and make the council work for the good of the borough and its people. I may have disagreed with him on some of his priorities and frankly with some of his personal actions, but you could not fail to be impressed by his passion and enthusiasm for transforming Oldham Town Centre through a big ticket regeneration project, one of our major disagreements. So, Madam Mayor, a fortnight ago, as is the nature of democracy, Sean received a rude awakening. However, he is young, he is competent, and maybe he'll be back sometime. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I call on Councillors Sykes, Hugh and Hume to speak about Garth Harkness. The floor is yours again, Councillor Sykes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thanks for calling me first to speak about my colleague and friend, Garth Harkness. And I want to thank him for his work and commitment as a councillor for the 9 years representing Saddleworth North, an interesting and challenging community, as I'm sure the other councillors for that patch will tell anybody who cares to listen. During his time in office, Garth was always very hard-working and focused on tackling the issues that affected his constituents, and which he was all too aware of as he lived amongst them as a resident of Dove Cross. Issues such as campaigning for a new health centre, defending the Greenbelt from development, for improving public transport, crucial to that part of the world, tackling speeding, and the unwanted presence of trucks and HGVs in the villages. Issues around flooding and taking action over the devastating moorland fires that we have seen in recent years. Many of you will know that Garth works as a teaching assistant with students with autism, and I was very proud, and I think he was proud, to be appointed Shadow Cabinet Member for Education and made a very positive contribution. Consequently, many of Garth's campaigns in this council centred on education issues as they flowed out of his passionate belief that every child deserves an excellent personal education to ensure that they can achieve their full educational potential and develop the interpersonal skills needed for adult life. For Garth, this included investing in proper provision for pupils with special educational needs. Garth was also keen to see the new Saddleworth School up and running and to finally provide much needed modern educational facility that the children of Saddleworth so rightly deserve. He was also an enthusiastic advocate to support young carers in education and for making mental health support available in Oldham schools and colleges. This led him to working on a special project for Saddleworth that he initiated with mine to establish a bespoke provision for young people of the district. Another ongoing campaigning issue Garth played an instrumental part in was ensuring the council supported the call by footballer Marcus Rashford that no child should go hungry in school or in the school holidays, as he understood better than most that children who are focusing on an empty stomach are unable to focus on their learning. In addition, Garth, always a fierce supportive of retaining Saddleworth's green spaces and opposed the encroachment of unwanted housing development, while championing the cause for affordable housing. Garth is a young man and he's very able and hungry to do more, so I'm confident he might be back soon. Until that happens, we on this side of the chamber will miss his enthusiasm and commitment, and the people of Saddleworth North will, I'm sure, miss him also. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Sykes, for your contribution there. And congratulations, Madam Mayor, on your election today. I don't know quite, ascension, I guess. I've served on the council with Garth for 2 years, and he's been my councillor, as Howard has said, for another 7. And it was clear that in that time, the passion he had for Saddleworth And from Whit Friday to our beautiful countryside, Garth did pursue those causes in Sadler's interest, both inside the chamber and outside it as well. I served with him on the planning committee, and it would often be a race between Garth and myself trying to squeeze in as many extra trees into a development as possible. And Garth was fair-minded on there as well, acknowledging the need for housing, as Howard has said, Councillor Sykes has said, and also pushing for as much protection for the natural environment as well. And Garth's support for the new Sadler's School was really appreciated by myself. I'll finish by acknowledging, as Councillor Sykes alluded to, the incredibly difficult year Garth will have had as a key worker, and just the kind of the 40 months he would have had during this pandemic, and just finally thank him for the contribution he's made to Saddleworth and the borough as a whole for his passion for education. Thank you very much.
I call on Councillors Alias, Tor and Chris Gloucester to speak about Atiq-ur-Rahman. Councillor Alias, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've known Atiq-ur-Rahman since we were both teenagers. Atiq's contributions to Oldham Borough as a councillor have been commendable. He's been a councillor for Medlock Vale Ward for the last 17 years. During these 17 years, Atiq has served Oldham as a mayor, as a deputy cabinet member, and also as a cabinet member. I've learned a lot from Atiq in the last few years. When I was selected as a candidate for Medlock Vale Ward in 2019, Atiq agreed to act as my election agent, and he coordinated my election campaign, which obviously was a successful campaign. Madam Mayor, I've been privileged to share the same birthday and month with Atiq, even though Atiq's a year younger than me, as well as being a ward colleague for the last 2 years. Many of the Medlock Vale residents, our Labour Party colleagues, and I are really grateful for Atiq's services for both our ward and for Oldham. I'm sure Atiq will soon be back, stronger and wiser to serve Oldham again. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Tor, please.
It's working. Right, it's working. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, life brings you to a very strange situation where you don't know what's around the corner. I never thought I will be standing up in the council chamber and talking about a person who is not only my husband, but also a ward colleague in Medlock Vale for past 10 years. I can talk about Atiq for hours and hours. Where do I make a start? A 6-year-old, intelligent and full of confidence young boy who made his first public speech in Kashmir about human rights. A student union member in Pakistan in his college days. A community activist, a human rights fight campaigner, a young Labour and union member who joined the party in United Kingdom many moons ago in his teens. His both professional and community services for the people of Oldham have been always highly regarded. I witnessed his hard work over the years, day and night. He gave his life so many golden years to serve the people of Oldham. He continuously served Medlock Vale Ward and its residents for the past 17 years. People talk about change now. People talk about change now, but 17 years ago, Atiq was the one who brought a big positive change in Medlock Vale Ward. His presence made this ward not only multicultural and diverse, but he brought a positive change in many ways over the years, including making a history on Oldham's map by supporting a first female Asian councillor to get elected in 2010. His hard work, alongside his ward colleagues, Medlock Vale Ward was transformed for the better. Madam Mayor, new health centre, new library, new community centre, youth provision, hundreds of new homes, back alley gates, road resurfaces, and many, many more exciting projects which he supported over the years. And the list is endless. I'm conscious about the time. He always fought every election with dignity and respect. Atiq took the oath in this chamber in 2015 and became the mayor of Oldham, second Kashmiri citizen in Oldham history. He raised over £50,000 for his mayor's charity and visited over 500 local community and voluntary groups in Oldham. During his year as councillor, he has served as cabinet member, deputy cabinet member, chair of various scrutiny committees. He is the honorary chair of Rugby Club Bulldogs in Fitton Hill, chair of governors at Heathershaw College, and vice chair of Pinnacle Learning Trust. He served on Ford Housing Board, which used to be known as Villages Housing Association. He also served on NDC, New Deals for Communities, their board, chair of Pakistani Community Center, chair of Amnesty International, governor at Coppice School, Coppice Community Center board member for Oldham Race Equality, and the list goes on and on. At Greater Manchester level, Atiq has represented Oldham on Greater Manchester Police Authority, Greater Manchester Transport Committee, Greater Manchester Waste Committee, and Greater Manchester Scrutiny Committee. Atiq, this is your temporary break, and we all want to see you back very soon. This propaganda against you didn't make you weak. It made you more stronger than ever. Madam Mayor, lies have no life, but truth live longer and forever. I wish Atiq all the very best for the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Chris Gloucester, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On behalf of the Liberal Democrat Group, I'd first like to thank Atiq for his service as a councillor. Apart from his work as a ward councillor, Atiq has been instrumental in being a voice for communities nationally and internationally, criticising human rights abuses, as well as working to support migrants in this country who are struggling and suffering. And having read up on Atiq, there's no doubt that he's reflecting there on his own experiences. As we've just been told, Atiq took over from Councillor Fida Hussain as mayor in May 2015 and was in effect my first mayor as I was newly elected. Our friends and colleague Councillor Derek Effernan was Atiq's deputy, who spoke highly of him when Derek took up the chains of office the year after in relation to the support that he'd been given. As mayor, Atiq was polite and helpful and was an excellent ambassador for the town. I often reflect upon Atiq's word when he was the retiring mayor and he presented his son with a copy of the Quran, telling him it was a book of peace. And it's clear Atiq holds these values dear in his work and life. He raised a magnificent sum of around £50,000 whilst mayor, helping many local causes, and he will be missed as a councillor and as a person in this chamber. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I call on Councillors Steve Bashforth, Alexander and Williamson to speak about Cathball. Councillor Steve Bashforth, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and congratulations on being taking the role of Mayor. It's for all of us who choose to do this job. It's part of the life, isn't it, to find that suddenly everything you put, all the work you put into it, or the dedication, to find suddenly it matters no more and you're out of a job. No matter how high you rise, no matter whatever you do, we're all in the same boat. Every couple of years we can be out, and no matter how much we recognise that and try to build it into us, it's hard when it happens. It's hard. And Kath Ball is somebody I've known for a long time, and Kath is one of those people who was always beavering away in the background working on some projects, and you wouldn't really know what she was working on until she came out with it and surprised you how well she'd researched it and what a good job she'd done of it. And it's sometimes jobs like this, the little things that we do as councillors that make a big difference. And, you know, not all of us are working on multi-million-pound deals in the town centre, or, you know, most of the stuff we do is local, hands-on. And a lot of that doesn't actually get recognised, which is a shame, really. And I think for the last couple of years, Kath has been our lead on working with the Royal British Legion branches in the town and researching our heritage when it comes to the fallen people in the war and our war memorials. And she's done a fantastic job on this and made some cracking achievements. But again, not a lot of this is out in the open. And it should be it's a great legacy, this. I'd be proud to have something like this. I mean, one of the things that Kath started up the Oldham Remembers group, and there's a fabulous website that people should go and visit that's got stories about people from Oldham about the World War I and World War II, stories that could have been lost forever, but are now recorded in archives, so we can look back and realise how much our forefathers and foremothers suffered, you know, through these times. And I think one of the most poignant things that Kath achieved is to set up this garden of the forgotten at the parish church. She researched and found 2,500 names of people who were killed, Oldham people who were killed in World War I, whose names didn't feature on any memorial anywhere. This is now there. People can go and visit that and look at these people. She also found 200 people who were killed in World War II that haven't yet gone on into this garden, but hopefully will do at some times. More recently and more personal, Kath worked with the Royton branch of the Royal British Legion, a branch that I'm very proud, along with Marie, to be founder members of. And she was helping a lady called Marie there, who's been trying to get back a memorial that somehow got into the private auction area, which is a World War memorial of people from Royton who died. And Kath was very active in helping to try and repatriate this, and I'm sure she won't give up. Anyway, I also would like to endorse the comments from colleagues for all the other councillors that have been spoken about today. It isn't easy when you lose, but it is easy to forget things that people achieved. So I hope that we do sort of bear that in mind. So, Kath is now semi-retired. She's in Skipton at the moment, enjoying an holiday with Jed. So I hope she has a lovely weekend. And thank you, Madam Mayor, and enjoy your term in office.
Thank you, Councillor Bashforth. Councillor Alexander, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I would like to congratulate you as well, and I wish you well on your journey. Kath trained to be a nurse in 1973 and then became a health visitor in 1988. Kath has certainly had a very varied career. She joined the Labour Party in the late 1980s and has been a branch secretary, a CLP secretary and an LGC secretary. Quite a busy lady. Kath became a parliamentary agent for Brian Davies MP in 1992. She also worked with MP Phil Willis from 2005 to 2010. Kath then stood for councillor in 2012 in St James Ward. She also became a deputy cabinet member to various cabinet members over the years. Kath threw herself into the poverty work as this issue has always been on her radar. It took up a lot of her time. As a health visitor, during this work, she was able to use her public health knowledge, which was a great advantage. She loves working in the community. In the early days of being a councillor, whilst helping at an event at Stoneleigh Park, our resident asked Councillor Cosgrove's mum, Carol, if a councillor had bothered to turn up, and Carol answered, "Oh yeah, she's in there mopping the toilets." That is our Kath, always ready to roll her sleeves up and get involved. She will be missed as a councillor, but knowing Kath, she will always be part of the Labour group doing something behind the scenes, and we wish her well in the future. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Williamson, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and congratulations. I've always found Kath to be someone who had her residents and the borough of Oldham in her heart. I've served alongside her on overview and scrutiny, and whilst we both are from slightly differing sides of the political spectrum, I felt that I could support and understand where she was coming from. She was a really good scrutineer, picking up a tiny element in a report and trying to understand how it would or how it had affected her ward or residents and wanting to make things better. This could also be seen when she was Deputy Cabinet Member for Education and Skills and from her work with ACE Centre North and all to do with welfare reform. I also saw Kath's passion for the work she did for the commemoration events in Oldham for World War I and World War II, with the Oldham Remembers displays inside and outside the market hall in the town centre. Oldham has been dealt a blow by losing Kath with her passion and commitment. One final note, Chris Gloucester told me, don't forget to mention Oldham Athletic. I don't know whether he was winding me up or not, but let me just say this. If you're a supporter, Kath, well done on beating Colchester United 5-2 on April the 9th. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Williamson, and I can confirm she was a staunch supporter of Oldham, is a staunch supporter of Oldham Athletic. I call on Councillors Briggs and Hamblett to speak about Liz Jakes. Councillor Briggs, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Congratulations, and I wish you well in your mayoral year. I'd like to say a few words about Liz Jakes, of whom I had the pleasure of working alongside for the last 2 years. Within this time period, it's self-evident that Liz had a real passion for Failsworth, despite having to hold a full-time job, which meant working very long hours at Manchester College, where she was a student mentor. Sometimes she would be getting up at 6 in the morning and not getting home until like 10 o'clock at night. But I never heard Liz complain at all about the long hours, and she took upon herself the additional duty of the district lead, focusing on the needs of old and young and those groups who needed to be heard. Organising play days in the park, supporting community activities and championing the need to bring together the socially isolated. She fought to have the 319 bus service reinstated, along with, as Councillor Davies said, Councillor Fielding, recognising the fact that this service needs to be reinstated. For many, this was the lifeline to get to the likes of Tameside College, the hospital and Ashton Town Centre. She also organised monthly clean-up campaigns which engaged a wide variety of young people, young, old and families alike, working together to make Failsworth a nicer and cleaner place to live. During lockdown, Liz answered the call and became a volunteer at the Oldham Food Bank, supporting vulnerable people across the whole of Oldham. As a member of the Planning Committee, she recognised the need for additional housing but understood that any development required additional infrastructure and capacity to cope with additional social demand. She delivered her promise on saving the green belt. Through her personal hard work, due diligence and dedication, she managed to remove the designated housing in wood houses. Liz had an eye for attention to detail and challenged people where additional clarity was needed. She enjoyed being a member of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee because it gave her an opportunity to understand the work being done within the various council departments and to ensure the council and its officers were providing an effective and meaningful service for residents. Although no longer a council, I know that Liz will continue to fight for those without a voice and make a difference to all those people she comes into contact with through her work as a mentor and a staff governor at the Manchester College, and as a resident of Failsworth. Finally, Madam Mayor, on a lighter note, Liz liked to sing, and she's told me once she used to be a member of two choirs, the Thomas More in Alkrington and Woodhouses Operatic Society. She's now threatening to rejoin them. So beware, residents of Alkrington and Woodhouses, and close your windows, because I've heard her sing. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, I think, Councillor Briggs. Councillor Hamblett, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and my congratulations to you also. I actually used to go to Manchester College, but I didn't actually bump into Liz whilst I was there. I didn't know Liz very long during my time amongst you here on the council, but what I know is that she's been a great spokesperson for SEND and autistic pupils and young people during her time with us on the council. And as Councillor Briggs said, she works for the education sector as an education support worker, so it's nice to hear other folk other than yourself or your colleagues from this side of the chamber stand up and share similar needs or experiences that affect others across the education sector for both children and adults. I hope that whatever Liz does away from the council, by the sounds of it singing, and the chamber life, she will continue to be a firebrand for education, SEND and autism rights and needs. So for me, this only autistic member, young member within the chamber, okay, I'm only 30, but still, all the best in future ahead of you, Liz. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hamblett. Thank you for all those contributions. So now we turn to item 8 on the agenda, to note the report of the returning officer on the results of the local elections on the 6th of May 2021. Does Council agree to note the report? Thank you. We move to nominations for Leader of the Council, and I call upon Councillor Chatterton to move and Councillor Jabbar to second the nomination. Councillor Chatterton, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Congratulations on your ascension to Mayor of Oldham. For Leader of the Council, I would like to nominate Councillor Aru Shah.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to second Councillor Aru Shah. And can I take the opportunity, Madam Mayor, to wish you very best of luck in your office and also to the newly elected Leader of the Council. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Does Council agree the nomination and that the Leader is appointed from the 19th of May 2021, ending at the start of the first annual Council meeting after the Leader's normal day of retirement as a councillor, as outlined in the report? Those in favour? Those against? Any abstentions? Thank you. I declare that nomination, Councillor Shah, is carried. Does the newly elected Leader wish to speak? Before Councillor Shah speaks, does Council agree to suspend the Council procedure rules to enable the newly elected leader to speak for longer than the speeches rule if required? Thank you. Councillor Shah.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It is with great pride and I admit some trepidation that I take on the role of Oldham Council leader this afternoon. As a council, we've never had a greater challenge nor a greater responsibility to the people of Oldham as we make our way out of restrictions and strive for a recovery for people and businesses. Before, Madam Mayor, I talk about the commitments I want to make to the borough and local people, I'd like to pay my tribute to my friend and the outgoing leader, Sean Fielding. It has been an absolute honour to serve as deputy for Sean for the last 3 years. Working alongside Sean throughout the pandemic, I witnessed firsthand his commitment to the people of Failsworth and to all of the residents of Oldham. Whilst leading our local response and representing the borough's interests and concerns at regional and national levels, he also found time to stay connected to what mattered most to people. Volunteering regularly at the food banks, delivering vital food parcels to those isolating or struggling financially, and later on in the pandemic, volunteering as a marshal at a vaccination clinic. Those actions show the true measure of Sean's dedication to his role and to local people. He never ever lost sight or shirked his share of the hard work we were asking our council staff and volunteers to undertake. In fact, Madam Mayor, he relished it. We will also miss his steadfast ambition for Oldham and his absolute drive to see it improved for future generations. I am really lucky to be taking up this role with a clear plan for the regeneration of Oldham Town Centre already in place and its delivery well underway. Sean's master plan will deliver quality housing alongside an attractive shopping, hospitality and leisure offer and provides a clear future at a time when many towns across the country are struggling. We will all miss Sean, personally and politically, but his leadership, Madam Mayor, leaves an incredible legacy for our town. As we move forward, our priorities for the next year are clear. We've set ourselves a clear plan to drive recovery from the pandemic, one that focuses on creating jobs and supporting businesses, on education and skills, on ensuring quality housing, making the most of our green space and improving the health of local people. Dedicated activity in these areas of focus will help the borough bounce back as quickly as possible from the economic, social and health impacts that COVID-19 has caused. Alongside this, though, we do need to retain focus on the things people tell us are important to them. Their message is clear. We want to live in a town we can be proud of, one where our neighbourhoods are clean, green and safe. So, Madam Mayor, I want the hallmark of my leadership to be this: that we get stuff done. We'll be cleaning up our streets and getting tougher on fly tipping and littering. That if you need help, we're here to help you. That if you're doing great work in the community, we'll work alongside you and support you every step of that way. But if you're bringing our town down, whether that's littering, fly tipping, or being a bad landlord, we're coming after you with everything that we have. To make sure this happens, we're promising additional investment in our street scene and enforcement teams. These may feel like simple things, but they are absolutely vital. The contract we have with our community is built on us ensuring that our neighbourhoods are places that we're all proud to live. If local people are to trust us to run their public services or to plan for the future of our town and to advocate for them nationally and regionally, then we need to deliver on these basic things. Alongside this, focus on cleanliness and enforcement, we will invest time, both as Labour councillors and as an organisation, to listen more to local people, to talk to them about their concerns and to take on board their suggestions and to have open, honest conversations about the issues that face our town. That means a real commitment to getting in our communities, to better communicating our plans and to getting real input as we shape them. This has to be our key role as community representatives. And that role, Madam Mayor, becomes even more important in speaking to and speaking up for those that are struggling. My role leading the COVID response over the last year has highlighted even more strongly the deep inequalities existent in Oldham and in wider society. It has shown that some of our communities have been affected more than others, with more cases of COVID, more deaths or serious health impacts, more business closures, and unfortunately and sadly more job losses. The impact of COVID has not been felt equally because life was already harder and more challenging for some in our communities, because of poverty, because of underlying health conditions, because of their age, and because of their lack of support network. If we are to succeed as a town, it has to be on the basis that we've brought everyone with us, that everyone has benefited from our success, and to do that, we have to have a greater focus on those who need the most help. I will continue to make driving equality an absolute priority in this town, whether that's through tackling poverty, increasing opportunities for improved education and skills, creating jobs and supporting businesses, or through targeting our support services at those who need them the most. We will, Madam Mayor, deliver services that work for everyone, but that reach out to those most in need. I'd like to finish by stating clearly that everyone in this chamber, regardless of political party allegiances, have more in common with each other than that in which divides us. We all stood for election to improve the areas we live in and to improve the lives of Oldhamers in whatever way we could. We may, Madam Mayor, disagree on the best way to achieve those aims, but I know that we all want the best for our town, whether that's cleaner streets and green spaces, caring and effective social services, or thriving town and district centres. Sometimes the political process can give the impression of greater and more personal divides than actually exist in reality. Opposition and scrutiny are a vital part of democracy, and I know from experiences in some cases that the councillors in this chamber will work hard to make sure I keep my promises. I know that we will continue to hold each other to account, to debate and discuss our work and our priorities in a really respectful way that recognises our shared commitment to the people of this town. I truly, Madam Mayor, believe that that is what the people of Oldham want, expect and deserve. Like most in this chamber, I entered politics with a real desire to make things better, for the place I was born and grew up, but also for the people who lived here alongside me. Becoming leader at this time is a huge, huge responsibility, given the challenges that this last 18 months has presented for the town, but it is one that I am absolutely committed to. My drive to improve my town, to work hard and to keep going despite any barriers and challenges put in my way comes from my parents, who came from Pakistan in the 1960s and built a fantastic life in Oldham for themselves and for me and for my siblings. They pushed us always to do our best, to strive for greater things and to respect and care for others. The values they instilled in me have led me to where I am today, and I will forever be grateful for their guidance and for their support. As an Oldhamer, Madam Mayor, I want what's best for Oldham, and I'll never stop striving for that whilst in this role. In 12 months' time, let me be judged on my actions and on what I have delivered. Or in a phrase borrowed from a hero of mine, Emmeline Pankhurst, deeds, not words. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Shah, and congratulations. Appointment of deputy leaders, cabinet members and deputy cabinet members, allocation of portfolios and delegations of executive functions for the 2021-22 municipal year. Report of the Leader of the Council. Mayor, I call on, sorry, I'm reading too much of the script. I call on Councillor Shah to appoint a statutory deputy leader, advise the Council on the number of cabinet members, deputy cabinet members, and agree their portfolios as circulated.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move Councillor Amadi Chatterton as the statutory deputy leader and the cabinet members, deputy cabinet members as circulated in the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Does council note the appointments? Agreed? Thank you. Opposition nominations to the Shadow Cabinet. Does council note the appointment of the opposition leaders and the Shadow Cabinets as circulated? Agree. Appointments of committees and composition of political groups for 2021-22. I call on Councillor Shah to move and Councillor Sykes to second the appointment of committees as set out in the report as circulated. Does council agree the report as circulated? Outside bodies appointments 2021-22. Sorry, my apologies. I call on Councillor Shah to move, and Councillor Sykes to second the appointments of the committees.
Move, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Sykes.
Second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Does council agree the report is circulated? Thank you. Outside bodies appointments 2021-22. I call on Councillor Shah to move and Councillor Sheldon to second the appointments to outside bodies as set out in the report circulated. Councillor Shah.
Move, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Sheldon. Thank you. Does council agree the recommendations on page 1 of the appointments to outside bodies report circulated? Thank you. Council meetings. Does council agree that meetings of the council in the 2021-22 municipal year will be held on the dates shown as printed on the summons and approve the calendar of meetings as circulated? Does the council recommend that approval of any outstanding dates or changes of dates be delegated to the Chief Executive in consultation with the Leader of the Council and the leaders of the main opposition groups, and that the dates agreed today can only be changed in exceptional circumstances and only after following the agreed process? Does council agree? I have no notices of administration business. I have no notice of opposition business. Council constitution. I call on Councillor Shah to move and Councillor Sykes to second the report. Councillor Shah.
Move, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Sykes.
Second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Does council agree the recommendations reaffirm the Constitution and agree that any consequential amendments arising from any decisions are delegated to the Director of Legal Services to incorporate in the Constitution? Thank you. The Members' Allowances Scheme. All members have a pecuniary interest in item 18. Can Council please note that all 60 Council members have received a dispensation from the Standards Committee in relation to item 18. I call on Councillor Shah to move and Councillor Sheldon to second the report. Councillor Shah.
Move, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Sheldon. Does any member wish to speak on the report? I don't see any indications. Thank you. Does council agree the recommendations as amended and contained within the report? Thank you. And thank you everyone for your attendance today. That concludes the business of the meeting.